So I wasn't planning on filming today, considering it's a pre-fish, and all my pre-fishes have mostly been pretty bad, you know. But I'm exploring and eliminating water, and right now I'm out at the Suwannee River. This will be the last stop, the KAF Trail Series, and oh my god, the current sucks. So I think I found the spot that I want to fish, which, if it makes sense to somebody, I picked a spot in the river where there's a lot of bends and there's a lot of turns to see if I can find some sandbars and just anywhere there's slack water where these fish can kind of hold up. Because right now, like this current, like I'm pedaling like normal, I am not moving very fast, and it's a pretty swift current. So there's a couple S bends up here, and I think that's where I'm going to focus on. They give us our upper and lower limits of the river to fish, and the lower limit was just about, I want to say 3 miles short of what I was looking to fish. So I had to switch gears here. Did something swirl with the bait. It's probably a gar. Betting docks and trees might be the key. It looks like the river is higher. I heard somebody at the boat ramp, there's a family that was launching, and the wife was talking to the husband and said, yeah, the river looks like it's high. Oh, another one on right off this little tree. What do we got here? A largie? Yeah, it's a largie. Let's put him in the water for right now. Pull him over here and get in the sandbar and get him off and take a look at him. And these guys are feisty. I don't think this guy would help out with the tournament at all. Really don't. Oh, it comes right in at 11 inches. Feisty little dude, but that wouldn't help at all. Not unless they decrease the size. This one. What's a good one? Oh, what is that? Oh, it's a bowfin. That's why it feels like a good one. Dang it. That's not what I want to have on the hook right now. little guy. We got a little largie. Size 1. That would count. They've lowered the size limit to 10 inches to account for a lot of the small Suwannee bass. I don't know what's going on down there. There's a lot of movement in the water. Sitting up here. Hopefully it's not a gator just swimming back and forth, but I know there's some sturgeon jumping, but there's a lot of movement down there. Okay, so I'm not sure what happened. The GoPro overheated, and it happens every once in a while. I'm not 100% sure why, but I lost audio, and I know that the microphone was connected, so I don't have any audio for the remainder of my clips. So let me walk you down what's happening and what I kind of figured out. So off this tree here on these lily pads, I'm going to get hit like a freight train, and I'm going to end up catching my first Suwannee bass here. So these dudes fight really hard. They're usually really short and chunky. He is scoreable. He comes in he probably would have been right at around 10 inches. And they've reduced the size of the fish to about 10 inches for this tournament, just specifically because there's so many short ones in here. But it's a beautiful fish. I dropped him there. I feel really bad. He's okay. Took a few pictures, and then we released him. So I think I figured out the pattern for this tournament, and there are a bunch of fish over, along, and around the lily pads. I caught quite a few fish this specific day. The slack water thing, I think, is going to be a valid approach, but it seems like the fish are much more concentrated around places of vegetation. There's not a lot of vegetation out in the river, period. So I went over here just on a whim, and I was like, oh man, there's not a lot of current, but the fish were here. And if you look here, you can see the swirl on my bait down there in the bottom bottom right. And my line started peeling up underneath the lily pad. So I set the hook, and I ended up hooking into probably like a 6 or 7 pound bowfin. Now, there were quite a few bowfin over here, and I caught or hooked into several throughout the day. But I also caught 7 bass, which is more than a limit. I only caught one fish that wasn't scoreable, and he was about 5 inches long. But the fish are here, and if you get back into the lily pads, I discovered I paddled back into some where the sun was kind of shining in a little group later, and there were a bunch of little bait fish back in there. There are a bunch of little sunfish and things like that. So I think that's probably going to be the pattern. And here, about 10 feet away from where I hooked that first bowfin, I hook into another one, and it wasn't as big as probably 2 or 3 pounds, but still. I'm glad he came off the hook. Don't have to deal with it. Here I'm hooked into a scoreable fish. I think it came out to about 11.5 inches. But again, off the lily pads. And, what I would do is I'd throw this wacky rig Senko. And the reason I'm throwing a wacky rig, if it makes sense, is I want the two ends of it, when you kind of pop it, to look like a crayfish kind of swimming. And the fish out here are reliant on crayfish. That's their primary source of forage, that and bait fish, but they really like crayfish. So I want it to have that presentation. And whenever I'm popping it and letting it sink, it seems like the fish are grabbing it. Here again, I'm hooked into another bowfin. That's 3 along the stretch, but I am going to end up catching 3 bass as well. This guy I had to get off the hook, but I think that's the pattern, is fishing these lily pad fields, and it's changed where I want to go. There's one place that it's got deep water, and that's where I caught the big fish, but I only caught 1 fish there. And as much as I would like to catch 1 good fish, I need 5 to win this tournament. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is, and this bowfin fights so hard. What I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to fish all the lily pad fields, which I should be able to do by mid-morning, and then move to the deeper water area where I caught that big fish, and see if I can upgrade. Get him off the hook right here, I think. Yeah. And then this is the last bass I caught in this stretch. I hooked him off another log. There were 2 logs where I caught 2 fish, and I think that's going to be a good place to start. This guy's also scoreable. He got hooked in the top of the mouth. It's a small hook, so I gotta go with the pliers and just kind of push it out.
but that's another scoreable fish. He's probably right around 10 or 11 inches. And I think that's going to be the pattern for the day. I'm looking forward to it. I feel confident in it. As long as I can get a limit, I stand a chance at doing something. So then after that, it's just about upgrading. So the idea is I'm going to spend the morning fishing these fields of lily pads that honestly I didn't see anybody fish. I had boaters going up all and down fishing. A couple guys, got up in front of me and then would fish a spot, maybe catch one. I saw one caught in a water whopper plopper, and then they would leave. Nobody was fishing these lily pads, and I think that's going to be key. So I'm going to fish the lily pads in the morning, and then I'm going to go ahead and move off to the deeper water stuff and try to get upgrades in the afternoon. I have a Lawrence unit coming in that I'm going to set up. It's coming in today, actually, so I'm going to set that up and hopefully get comfortable enough running the down scan and the side scan to be able to kind of hopefully find some offshore fish, because I guarantee, because it's summer, these fish are going to be a little bit deeper in the cooler water, and if I can find a sandbar or something where they're just kind of piled up out of the current, that could be absolutely key. But we'll see what happens with that. But for right now, I got a good game plan. I think on this day 2, I ended up catching 7 bass total. 1 was unscoreable, but I would have had a limit. I would have had somewhere around, I want to say 60 inches, and that's a giant crow's nest that I got to get out.
All right, so it's one day before the tournament. I got the unit up and running. I think that's probably the best spot for it. I'm really just kind of messing around with it. I saw one spot that had like these massive fish in it, but I'm pretty sure they're either gar or catfish because they were down low in a hole. Well, just hooked into a decent size. It's like a Suwannee bass. Yeah, it's a good Suwannee bass. This would count tomorrow. Ooh, hang on, bud. Look at that. Beautiful. Nice and fat. Cool. So there's a tree right there, which is the one to my right. There's another tree out here. This little one. It's not a Suwannee bass though. Chunky little dude. Oh, we're gonna have to get the pliers on him. Choked it. Alright, dude. Man, he's so feisty. Fish on? Ah, it's a bullfin. Knew as soon as I hooked it. They also seem to like the Senko very much. Oh, there it goes. I'm gonna need to retie before the day is done. But at least I know that this is a decently productive spot. So tomorrow, this is what I'm going to be targeting, is these lily pads and stuff like that. Want to get... There's a lot of fish that seem to be grouped up along the thick stuff. But obviously the shoreline stuff like I'm fishing right now works out pretty well too. But I'm on a deep cut and the current isn't as strong over here, so I think that's why these fish are over in the side. I mean, I'm sitting in 10 foot of water right now, and it fluctuates between 10 and 20 foot of water in the places where I've been. I'm thinking those fish are grouped up on here. One of the other guys that fishes these tournaments, his car's back at the ramp, so I know he's been here. Because I've fished this, I'm going to say this as a last spot to come to. I've got 4 different locations I can go to, and 2 of them very confident in that will produce enough fish to get a limit, and I can begin culling from there. Okay, guys, so I've got a game plan for tomorrow. I'm at the hotel right now. I've got a shower. I'm going to edit this video, get something to eat. I think I've got a game plan. The game plan is going to be, I'm going to go down and hit the few ramps that I know. There's 2 of them where there's a lot of lily pads. I'm going to hit those lily pads hard, get in and out in hopefully 2 to 3 hours in each spot, and then move up the deeper water where I was today and caught that nice Suwannee bass. Because I caught this right here, this 3-pounder, 2 weeks ago. So I have a feeling that there's going to be at least 1 or 2 big fish hanging out around there, and people have obviously fished that, but I watched the guys in boat come down past me, and I still caught fish. So it's going to be an interesting day tomorrow. I'm thinking that 60 to 70 inches will win this, but if you have over 70, you're definitely in contention. If you have over 80, which would be amazing, if you have over 80, you're definitely going to win this. A lot of small fish, a couple big ones, 1 fish can make the day. So let's see what happens. If you're watching this, I'm probably already fishing the tournament, but let's see what happens.